And hello, everyone. This is a Q&A on anything Spiirt Guides because I received so many wonderful questions around Spiirt Guides, and it's been a while since I've done a Q&A or answered any questions. So I thought I'll just mesh them all together, and we are in a session on Zoom so that if we have any more questions while we sit here, we can just attend to them. We can just co-create this session. I hope that the questions though will also answer some of the questions that you might have, because I found them really interesting. I don't think I've answered them before. And yeah, we'll see where this takes us. I love talking about guides, but I do want to remind everyone that I am not an expert, and I am really just sharing with you what I have received from my Spiirt team. Now, I have this habit of, ever since I started, that I don't Google things, I don't read books on guides, on mediumship, on, star seeds or psychic development. I just don't read books because my first spiritual teacher said, allow them to teach you, allow them to speak to you, and then compare notes with others, because whatever you find, out there is, information that someone has channeled, but it has gone through their filters, through their, their own BS, which is the belief system, right? And so it's this beautiful melting pot of everything. And not that it's bad or wrong, but what we want to do when we have channeled information, or even this information in this session, is you want to put it through your filters. You want to see how it feels in your soul. Is your soul remembering it like that too? And if it's not remembering it like that too, and then, you know what, then perhaps there is something for you to uncover. Because the spiritual world isn't solid like a physical world here. There's no, we live in a very limiting pattern, but spirit, or our soul, when it's not having this human experience, doesn't live in that limiting pattern. There's no time and space that, well, there is, but it's not linear like here. And so I just want you to, if you hear something from me today, and perhaps you've heard it somewhere else a little bit different, so my version doesn't resonate with you, that is absolutely fine. That's perhaps where you are being invited to connect with your guides and ask them. Because really, none of this is a fact till we cross over, right? None of it is a fact. It's not, and I always say this, it's not like I would tell you now France is in Europe and you could open any map, any atlas, and there it is. It says Europe, there's France. That's a fact. With the channeled information, and this is really important, it's more like, this is the best analogy that my guides gave me. It's more like there's a car crash, and at the scene 5 witnesses saw it, and when they interviewed, each one will give a slightly different statement, that each one of them saw something in a different way. And that's because we all perceive the world through our own lens. We all have our own experience. No one sees, like, we don't all see the world the same way, and that's why we don't receive the information exactly the same. I always give myself a little fist pump moment when someone that I don't know kind of validates something that I have channeled to a T. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So having said that, let me start with questions. So just want to remind everyone that this is being recorded. I would love to share this also with my listeners on my podcast, The Soul Led Spirit Driven. So anyone present here, if you want to ask a question as well, you of course are very welcome. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. But if you don't want to be heard during this recording, then please type it into the chat. I am happy with either way. I just am so grateful that we are here together sharing this experience. All right, so let me start with one of the questions that I have here already. I've got a few. So someone asked me, what do you mean when you say you sense spirit? And I wanted to start with this one because this is like big. So what do I mean when I say I'm sensing spirit? Basically, it is being attuned to the slightest change of energy. So when I say I'm sensing spirit, now I am clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, claircognizant. You are as well. We all have all these beautiful clairs. Now, sometimes some are a little bit stronger. I know for me, clairsentient is very strong and clairvoyance is becoming stronger. So when I sense spirit near me, like for example, now I know that our guides are present. I know my guides are here. I know my dad is here. I know my mom is here, and I'm feeling my grandmother as well, just coming in now. So what I mean is I can feel the air is getting a little bit dense, like the energy is getting dense, and I can feel them playing with my hair. Like my hair, I feel like someone's touching it. So not to mention that it almost feels like in a corner of my eye, I can see them coming in. Now, you might say, well, but you know what your loved ones look like, plus how do you know you're not imagining it? Here's the thing, this is what my guide said. There is, in the spirit world, there is no line that divides your imagination and messages from them, or the experience of sensing spirit, communicating with spirit. It is one and the same. Your human mind likes to put a line and make you feel like you're making things up. But when you actually lean back and just allow them to come in, and you're not actually actively trying to create a story, because when I'm talking to you now, I'm not trying to make a story in my head, it is coming in. That means it's them and I'm experiencing them, I am witnessing them. But I have an even better exercise that we can do together. Now, if you're listening to this and you can't see this video, and of course, if you're watching this on replay, you can do this as well. This is my favorite way to kind of show you what I mean when the energy is changing as they're coming in. So put your hands together and let's just rub them. So you want to rub them, rub them, rub them, rub them. A little bit faster, a little bit faster. And now gently separate your hands and even close your eyes so you can really feel the energy. Can you feel this dense energy between your hands? You may want to like separate them a little bit more and then pull them back together gently. And just notice how the energy between your hands feels. This is what it feels like when spirit is near for me. And I bet it would feel the same way for you. So in my program, so like in Liberato, we do plenty of these sort of exercises to kind of show you how the energy changes when they're closer, when they're standing back. So that's the first question answered. Yes, we did it. Okay. So number 2 is, have our guides ever been humans? And again, there's many different informations out there, but this is what my guide said. Actually, this comes from the Akashic Masters, from my astral team Echo. And they said that in order to be someone's guide, this spirit, has to have had lifetimes on Earth, at least one. Because that is the only way that they will understand what this human that they're looking after is going through, or what the soul is going through. Without a lifetime on earth, they wouldn't understand, because on the other side, there's nothing but one, unity and love. So they don't understand the separation from love. They don't understand duality otherwise. So yes, our guides have to have had at least one earthly lifetime so they can relate to us. And then someone asked me, will I become a guide when I die? What criteria do you have to fulfill? I love this question. Okay, so here's the thing. You probably already have been a guide for someone in between lifetimes. And the reason this is possible is because time is not linear. So something that for us could be a few years, over there in the spirit world could be like, let's say, compared to 5 hours, right? So 5 months, 5 hours. Now, again, my guides are reminding me not to get too specific with time. There is no ratio, there's no calculated measurement exactly per se, but just to give you an idea. Time is not linear. And so when you're not in your physical, in a physical form, having this human experience, you actually have wonderful experiences on the other side. You might have this afterlife career, and I've done a whole episode on it, where you assist. You might be part of the Council of 12. You might be an incubator soul looking after souls that have just crossed over. You could be keeper of neutrality, and that's the guide that looks after humans or souls that have just come through suicide, murder, sudden accidents, and because they're vibrating low, they need to raise their vibration. Only the keeper of neutrality can do that for them or help them to do it. So yes, you possibly were a guide, definitely have had an afterlife career. But what I also want to tell you is that, let me just do this here. What I also wanted to tell you is that the reason, or how do we know that we've been a guide? So you will know you were a guide because in this lifetime, for example, because most likely this is the lifetime that you really actively participate in, you have people coming to you, asking you for advice all the time. You may have friends asking you, like those friends that we perceive as energy vampires coming to you all the time, wanting your advice, right? So if people, even strangers at a party, might approach you and all of a sudden they're telling you their whole life story, that's because your energy is still that of a guide, okay? So chances are you probably were a guide already. Then we have a question. I want to actually read it out the way it was written. I would love to understand a bit more about how to ensure we only connect with loving guides. I keep hearing about how we need to protect ourselves and that spirits might not always be who they say they are. This makes me feel fearful. And I think it's preventing me from really being able to connect with my guides. I love this question. I can never get enough of spiritual protection questions and discussing that topic. Now, my guides and the Akashic Masters have said, you are more light than darkness. If we removed all this human facade, there would be nothing but love and light, all of us. So essentially, light repels the darkness. Also, in the spirit world, there isn't such a thing. I mean, yes, they are low vibrational entities, but they aren't really like, there's no devil or like evil spirit like in the movie Omen. you cannot actually get possessed. I mean, it happens very, very rarely. And the thing is, usually fear attracts fear, and it cultivates that fear and it amplifies that fear. So if you're someone who is sad, angry, filled with hate, spiteful, if you're someone who is anxious all the time or depressed, those are very low vibrational emotions and energies. So you would then be more likely to attract more negative energies, and all they will do is just feed off your still beautiful energy, because despite these negative emotions that we feel as humans, our soul is still beautiful love and light. So they will drain your energy further. However, when we work with our guides, we have a guide called the Gatekeeper. We are protected by our guides, plus our intention is powerful. It's a powerful thing. In fact, there is something in the universe, this law of personal responsibility. And that law states that your free will is powerful. No spirit can just ignore it and just like take over your body. So when we hear stories of people who have been possessed, which is very, very rarely, usually they're people that are subconsciously somewhere, because they're already vibrating very low, and subconsciously somewhere they've given this permission, because perhaps they've given up on life, perhaps they're so sad and they don't really care. So but the moment they actually say, I don't want this, my free will is to release me from you, the spirit must leave. In fact, my guide said that the law of personal responsibility is so powerful, and your free will is so powerful in the spirit world, that everything and everyone has to obey. The only beings that disregard free will are actually humans. So humans are the only ones that have no care, no appreciation for this free will. And they're the only ones that can take over or take free will away from you. But as humans, we like to know that we're protected. So I'm going to give you a few little ways to know how you can stay safe, because Spirit says your work with them is way more important than sitting in fear, being fearful and closing off. They've said they would love to connect with you. They would love to work with you, and they are doing everything to keep you safe. But the most important thing is you need to acknowledge and recognize that you are safe. You are safe. When you think about it, the only times we were not safe when working with spirit was when we lived in times where other humans would prosecute us, punish us, right? Exile us for being spiritual, for working with spirit. So here are a few little tips. Of course, rituals are really good. Protecting your energy, visualizing a cleansing light going through you. And this is usually at the end of perhaps a session. So if you work with humans, you should be dissolving cords. You should be cleansing yourself, because you are at a higher risk of picking up negative energies from other humans than spirit. When you are working with spirit, let's say you're working with a new spirit comes into your field and you don't know whether it has good intentions or not. You can ask a shaman that I worked with, taught me this trick. You ask them to show you their heart. Now, spirit, unlike humans, cannot lie. They're not allowed to be misleading and lie. So if they can't show you their heart, they're not genuine. They're not true. So you just ask them, show me your heart. And then you see their heart. And if you don't see a heart, then you just say, I'm sorry, but I'm here for love and I'm here to serve. And if you don't want any of that, then you need to leave now. And they must leave. That's basically how simple it is. So I hope that answers that. So we are absolutely safe, and it would be a shame to actually not connect and not work with these beautiful guides, with star seeds, with the Akashic Masters, because of this fear. We are very safe, we're very protected. And the only thing really is probably other humans. Their energy can affect us, their actions can affect us, right? Okay, so then I have a question here. I feel like my guides have left me. Is that true? So this feeling of disconnection only really happens again on a human level. Soul always feels connected. But as a human, and this I've noticed happens mostly with people who have been abandoned, perhaps as children, perhaps growing up, they still carry this fear that even their guides would abandon them. If, let's say, my parents or my love, my friend has abandoned me, left me, rejected me, then I must be unlovable. And why would a benevolent being like a guide or an ascended master like Jesus love me and want to help me? Those beings don't think that way. They don't leave our sight ever. So even if you never recognize or acknowledge them, if you go through your life completely sleeping, not ever awakening, not ever acknowledging them, they are still there. They're actually much closer than you think. They're in your auric field all the time. The reason we might feel this disconnect is, again, because perhaps there is stuff in our, like something clouding our channel, noise, beliefs, fear, could be just different filters from experiences, right? Sometimes religious beliefs that were instilled in us can sort of at various times create this disconnection. But your spirit guides are always still with you. Now, I had this experience before I did my Reiki training 1 and 2, where I think the week or 2 weeks before, I felt disconnected. And my guide said they're still here, but they're not fully in my energy field, because they know that I will need my energy to be clean and pure for the course. And because that attunement will take a lot out of me. So sometimes guides might do that, but they're still there. They're just not, let's say they're not as close. They might be a little bit further out. And so instead of just being able to communicate like this, you may have to sit in meditation, slow down, be in that nice, relaxing state and connect with them. And that's because then you're kind of building up your energy reservoir, so they're not taking anything from you. Now, I want to emphasize now, because they're telling me it's not, please don't feel like speaking to your guides drains your energy. It's just that we have very limited amount of energy per day. And so we have to invest it wisely. And your guides don't ever want you to feel like drained or feel like you've got so much going on. And then you also have them coming in, because you will feel them as they're moving in and out, as they're moving closer or away from you. You will be able to feel it. The more you work with them, the more attuned you are, you will be able to feel it. So for us humans, for our bodies, that is quite tiring, right? Especially if we're not in a habit of charging ourselves up. I know so many of my clients who work now with their guides, they're not in a habit of meditating, of clearing out their chakras and clearing out their energy field, of dissolving cords from other humans. So all that sits in their energy field. and essentially drains them. So I hope that answers it. So there's ways that we can charge ourselves up. And if you ever feel like you're disconnected, check yourself, see whether, something has happened. Perhaps that's now on your mind. Perhaps you've got clutter or noise in your energy field. Perhaps you haven't meditated for a while. And so there's this buildup that we need to get rid of first. And then, but just know that they're always there with you, always there with you. Now, your loved ones, this is another thing they want me to mention. Your loved ones, they are there as well. But just like other spirits that are not part of your gang, they cannot meddle with your life because of free will. So you have to actually ask, you have to give them permission. You have to say, Dad, can you step in and help me here? I don't know where this is going. I've got too many balls in the air and nothing's happening. This happened to me recently as well. So just ask them and they will step in and help you. Number 6, I've got a question here that's really a little bit long. I feel my mind wanders so much after I ask a question that I feel like I'm missing the answer, or am I not receiving an answer? Okay. Part of the Liberato training is actually teaching you how to hold that focus, hold that message or that visual. Because when your guides give you these impressions, the messages, they come super fast, super fast. And sometimes it's like a split of a second, and if you didn't pay attention, it's gone. So how can we strengthen it? How can we maintain that focus? And the first thing that I'm going to say, and I think everyone will hate me for this because I drum it into everyone, is meditate. Through meditation, you're actually able to be very present. You're able to hold the focus, hold the attention on something. Even if all you do is stare at a candle, at the flame for a few minutes and just focus on that flame. If you think you can't sit in silence and meditate for 5 minutes even, then look at the flame of a candle. Or just visualize something and hold that vision, like keep it going, like whether it's you on a holiday, right, and you reliving it and you're remembering the days and what you did, what you ate, how you felt. You're very focused in. Now, another thing I teach is also going through your chakras and clearing it out, or doing this particular breath work. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 8. When you do this 3 times, you have to really focus on the sequence. So that is really important. Also, make sure that you are grounded. Grounding yourself is really, really important. It keeps you present. It keeps you in your body. So I hope this all answers it. So when your mind wanders, because we all get monkey brain, actually even yogis and meditation gurus, they still get monkey brain. In fact, I think it takes about 20 minutes for the monkey brain to subside. Lasts longer if you try to fight it. Like if you get frustrated that, oh my God, there it is again, I'm trying to focus, but I'm thinking about like my shopping and who I need to pick up and what am I going to cook for dinner. Don't fight it. Just notice how it floats in, almost like a little wave. Imagine that you're an ocean and you've got these waves coming through. Whenever a thought pops in, it's like this wave, and just watch it float away, right? And that's it. Then someone asked me, I feel like this is, yes, okay, here we are. So someone asked, when I ask a question, sometimes I get nothing. So this is really good because you won't always get something in that moment. And especially we've learned this when we were accessing the Akashic records. In fact, my preferred way is not to go into a library, not to open a book, because I actually get nothing when I open a book. It's like I see the white page and my mind, I can feel my mind looking for the answer. And that's not what we want. We want to be in a beautiful, relaxed state. We want the answer to come to us because they're giving it to us. So you won't always get the answer right then and there when you ask, but trust that if you don't get your answer straight away, it's because your guides already know that something will happen, or they can organize a synchronicity that will help you with this issue. So I want to give you a little example. I've written it down here so I don't forget to tell you. So my dad, who's on the other side now, he's my guide who makes things happen for me. And we have had, with another lovely family member, combined, we were trying to make something happen. We were trying to have a holiday, but she has stuff going on and I have stuff going on. And I said, between the two of us, there's too many, as I said, balls in the air, too many unknown. And I'm like, something has to give. So I said to my dad, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do. We just can't, we can't plan for anything. These periods in your life where so many things are out of your control that you can't really plan for anything. You can't really take any action because you don't know. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You got to wait on someone else to maybe make a decision. She was waiting, actually, she applied for a job, and we were like, well, we can't go away till we know that she got the job, and we're looking for a house. I'm like, we find a house. And I got nothing. I've asked my dad twice, I got nothing. And I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. And then 2 days later, she gets an email and she got the job. She got the job. That's the answer. But we've been waiting for so long. She's been applying, she's been doing this. It was just this whole thing. And 2 days after that, and another interesting that happened between that, we were on a walk and she had these glasses that, I don't know, 2 years ago, she dropped somewhere and they didn't break. They always had like this little line. Anyway, we're walking. She's not touching the glasses. All of a sudden, there's a crack in the glasses and the glass thing just fell out. And we thought that was so random. Now, she's more a left brain kind of person, but even she thought that is weird because we haven't touched the glasses. We didn't drop them. All of a sudden, that crack just split. The little glass thingy fell out. And then the next day, she gets an email. They accepted her. So you see, sometimes we won't get the answer straight away because it's much sweeter and joyous for them to bring you the answer in another way. And our job is just to be open and to trust that all your questions will be answered. With that, I also wanted to see how I said my dad is the guide that makes things happen. My mom helps me with like tarot, the big questions that I have. Like if I need something, she will like organize the right guide. I have a mediumship guide as well. I also have my master guide. So you can actually, especially if you have loved ones, you can ask loved ones on the other side. I mean, you can ask them whether they can help you with a particular thing, or whether they can show you the guide that will help you with something. So my dad, I just knew like he's the one that after his passing, and he wasn't even spiritual, has orchestrated this whole big explosion in my life where I started seeing past lives and I started like sensing things. And then as I go deeper and deeper, like, and I want to learn more, I just have to ask him and the right teacher will appear, the right program, the right guide will appear who will teach me something. Usually it's in the Akashic records, but you have guides, you can actually ask them. You can assign roles and you can ask. So your master guide is like the CEO. He's the one, he or she is the one that will basically keep everyone else in line and say, this is how Kasha works. This is how her brain works. She has a lot of doubt and questions. So we want to make it as simple as possible. She has no medical knowledge whatsoever. So if you come and show her some, complex, medical stuff, she will not understand, right? Very airy-fairy, very difficult to focus. So you're going to come in one at a time, but make it very snappy. So they know you and they know how you work. They might guide you towards the right. When I told you I didn't read books about this, I did lie a little bit, because my guides, I remember, were showing me this beautiful goddess. And I knew it was a goddess, but I had no idea who and why they were showing me. They're like, you need to learn about her, because you will have certain clients coming in and they need to be connected with her. And all I saw was this beautiful Egyptian looking, like, with black hair, almost like Cleopatra, but with wings. So I literally went to Google and I typed in Egyptian goddess with wings, and goddess Isis came up. And so I learned about her because my guides told me to read it. And I would say it wasn't even 2 weeks later, I had a whole batch of clients coming through, and they either had dreamed of goddess Isis the night before, or they found out in the reading that they had past lives and they were like either an apprentice or what's it called, disciple of goddess Isis, or goddess Isis wanted to share something with them. But I was just blown away that all of them, there was like at least 4 clients, one after the other, and goddess Isis was coming up. And what did my human do? My human was questioning it and thinking, am I making it up now? Just because I learned about goddess Isis, am I making this up now? But when that client came up who said, I had a dream about goddess Isis the night before, and she knew a lot about goddess Isis, for some reason felt very familiar to her, I knew, okay, I cannot make this up. Like, I couldn't make this up. I couldn't, because she dreamt of it. So that's another thing. So you can ask your guides, to show you the right way, the book, the next step, and they will do that. And what about the quantity of guides? And is it true we have permanent guides and we have guides that come and go? Okay, this is a good question. And this is the kind of question that you have to discern for yourself, because here's the thing. My guides showed me when I asked them that we have a main guide. So we have a master guide, we have our gatekeeper. You may have a couple of other ones that have been with you throughout your childhood, and they're with you in your energy. And then there's guides that, excuse me, come and go. They come and go as you need them. So if, let's say, I'm a new mom and I feel a bit lost and I feel a bit stressed out and I don't know what I'm doing, I can call a guide to come in and help me. And usually this will be Mother Mary. And she might come in, and all of a sudden, perhaps a couple of friends rock up with a meal, or perhaps someone comes in and says, you take a nap, I'm going to look after the baby for an hour or 2. Or the right book will appear, or the right doctor, nurse, person will come into your life. She will put the right people on your path, the right resources. And then when you feel confident, comfortable, she will go away. Now, when I say go away, and they want me to emphasize this really, it's not like she's gone like a friend and you will never see them again. She's just out of your auric field. Of course, you can call her back in anytime. Now, but I have found that there are some people who find that quite challenging, that there's guides that come and go. And that's usually people, again, that have been abandoned throughout their life. So that sense of abandonment sticks with them, and they kind of relate it to guides. Guides will never abandon you. Guides will stay with you for as long as you need them, even the project ones. It's just that they have a certain role to fulfill. So they come to help you with something in particular. But when they leave, your guides, your original gang is still with you. They know you so well. They know exactly what you need. They know exactly how you operate, right? They will never leave you. But also, if you are someone who gets overwhelmed by too many guides, because believe it or not, I've seen some people have like over 20, over 70 guides, and they're not the immediate, it's just a crew that gathers around them. But our main ones are usually like somewhere between 2 to 5, let's say. That's my experience, how I've seen them. So sometimes we get overwhelmed, and then we go like, well, who do I work with? Who do I ask there? Who do I speak to about this? Like, who can help me? What if I'm talking too much to this guide? Will this one get upset? And then I'm not paying attention to this one on this side. Is he gonna get upset? No, our guides don't have an ego. That's a human trait to get upset because of our egos, when our ego gets bruised. But guides don't have an ego, so they don't get upset. They do whatever they can as a collective group of beings, but also as individual guides to help you. Their goal is to help you and to guide you. So whether they do it as one, like my echo collective, or whether they do it as individuals, it's really a case to case, depending on how you operate. So again, if you get overwhelmed with too many, they will make sure that you only interact with one or two, or a collective one, but you hear it as one voice. So think of maybe, what am I thinking of? Abraham Hicks, right? It's a collective group of beings, but they come through as one voice. And then what happens to your loved ones when they reincarnate? Not really guide related, but let's throw this one in and then see if anyone here with me has any questions. So what happens to your loved ones when they reincarnate? Will you still be able to communicate with them? This was a question I asked myself last year, and this is how they explained it to me. You know, when you put on a perfume and you walk into a room and people can smell the perfume, and then you leave the room and they might still smell that perfume. Has that ever happened to you before? You go in, or someone walks into the room, and even after they've left, that smell, that perfume stays. So this is how it is with our loved ones. It's their essence that stays, but that other aspect of their soul, because their soul is so big, goes into another lifetime. So you will still be able to communicate with your loved one, because that essence, that perfume smell stays, and it is coded with all the memories, and it is coded with the characteristics and the ways of your loved one. But that soul, essentially, that part, and that probably is best described through, let's say you have a light, right? You know, these lamps with those slits in the, what's it called? Oh my gosh. All right, let's take a disco ball, for example, right? And it's got, when the light shines, it's got all these particles everywhere. So the disco ball is the soul, but it shines all these little particles, and that's like all the parts of the soul have their own incarnations. So this might be a lot for a human mind to take in, but basically all you need to know is that your loved one will stay there. That's the essence, and that will always stay there, whether the soul decides to have other incarnations or not. So I hope that this helps. Now, do we have any questions around this? And if you're watching this on replay, you can put your question below wherever you're seeing this. And if you're listening to this on my podcast, reach out if you have any questions. I hope that this was helpful. In terms of guides, I wanted to answer them because I thought these questions were quite juicy and there was so much. So I hope that was helpful. Hello, my love. Would you like to ask a question?
I would love to ask a question. Thank you so much, Kasha. So I am one of those people that, although I have a sense of guides being around me, and I feel they are definitely with me and have definitely helped me a lot, I struggle a little bit, as you know, to really create a direct connection, like, and have a conversation. And I think that's about differentiating my thoughts from theirs and my messages from theirs. And you talked a little bit about that. I wondered if you could just go into that a little more.
Yes, sure. And by the way, thank you, Michelle, for the beautiful message here. Thank you, thank you. I'm so happy that you found this helpful. Yes. All right. So how can we tell? There's many different ways. So I usually like to do in, for example, liberato practices, exercises that help you to see where your mind is answering the question and where your guide. So very simple, what you can do, for example, after this is when you ask a question, for example, what does my soul need today? And then you write it down without thinking, right? You just write it down from your mind, don't overthink it. And then perhaps close your eyes for 5 minutes or so, take a few nice deep breaths, set the intention that you want to connect with your guides, and then just ask them, so please show me what my soul needs today. And then see what the answer is then. So now, as you get more comfortable with chatting to them, because you get more fluent, let's say, you won't have to even go into this little meditation. You can just ask them like this, but just so you can get into the practice of like discerning between what are your thoughts and what are from your guides. From your guides, usually the answer is something that you will be like, I would have never thought of this. It's more deeper, it's more profound, right? You might say, your analytical mind might say, well, your soul probably would love a lie down or a massage, but you have to do washing, you've got to write that blog post, you've got to reply to the message, you've got to do the email, right? Whereas your guides will say that your soul needs to replenish its energy, to go into nature, to connect with it, ground yourself, fill yourself up with that energy, and then the rest of the day will flow. For example, right? Because your guides will give you an answer that is more authentic with your essence, with your being. So this is one practice. Automatic writing is another one, right? When you start writing at first, it'll be your mind going like, I don't know what to write. This is silly. And then you let go and you just write and you just set the intention. I just want to connect with my guides. Just tell me. Journaling tips, journaling prompts help, but just generally asking questions. For example, my favorite question that I love asking in Liberato is, what does unconditional love feel like? So first I go like, just give me an answer. What does unconditional love feel like to you? And you might draw upon memories or experiences and use that as an answer. And then we close our eyes and we connect with our guides. And when we connect with our guides and we ask them to show us what unconditional love means, and you want to experience it through them, or you want to see what it means to them, and just notice what the answer is. And then again, compare it to what you got writing with your analytical mind to this. Generally, I find that when I'm talking, for example, now here with you, and all of a sudden, I am seeing my grandmother's honey cake, right? Pops in and I can see her holding it. So I know, okay, that's not me, that's them showing me that they're here. Maybe my grandma is here. Maybe she's letting me know that, connecting through the cake is a memory that is evoked to make me think, okay, she's here. Perhaps someone watching this goes, oh my God, my grandmother always used to make these cakes. Well, guess what? They're letting us know that we're connected, that we're here, that they're talking to us, right? But I wasn't thinking about my grandmother, and I wasn't thinking about the cake. I was talking to you guys about guides, and all of a sudden I see this. Do you know what I mean? So it's like playing with, like, okay, analytical mind answers this. What about now when I set the intention, guides come in and talk? Now, I actually also love this exercise where I close my eyes and I open myself up. I visualize this light going bright open everywhere in my auric field. I am this clear vessel, and now from now on, everything that comes in is from my guides. And then I just notice what comes up.
Cool. Okay, thank you. That's a great answer. Thank you, Kasha.
And I also want to say this other thing is we need to invite them into our life, because we often just think that we can only connect with them in meditations or when we have a client that needs a specific answer. But really, you want to make them part of your daily life. So set reminders in your phone, perhaps 3 times a day or 2 times. I have 3 times, to acknowledge them. Just say, thank you. I'm so grateful you're here. Or start your morning. Like I loved one of my spiritual teachers used to do this. She would have morning breakfast and her morning coffee with her spirit team, and she would sit there and she would have a cuppa and she would chat to them. She was like, because we're used to physical people being in our world, so it's easy to include them, obviously, and it's easy to remember them. But with our guides, because we are physical eyes don't see them, or we're not used to having them around, we kind of need these reminders to get us into this habit of using them daily for anything.
Great, thank you.
That's right. Michelle, my daughter told me she sees angels, and my son is heartbroken because he doesn't. Keep saying he's not good enough and is very emotional about it. Is there a simple, kid-friendly way I can teach him to connect with his guides? So don't know how to. Oh, this is beautiful. Let me ask my guides and see what they say. So Michelle, the best way is let him close his eyes and just pretend like if you had this friend that loves him so much and is here to help him, and is here to protect him, and is here to have fun with and play games with. What would this friend look like? And get him to like draw from his imagination, like do a drawing, or like what do you think your friend would say? And just sort of encourage him to bring this imaginary friend in, because our children, when they see, let's say, imaginary friends, now I don't know how old your children are, but when our kids are little and they see imaginary friends, they're spirit guides that are coming in and helping them, and sort of getting them, like, hey, remember we used to hang out on the other side. So just kind of encouraging more that imagination, like what would he look at? And even if he says it's a one-eyed monster, like the guy in Monster Inc., great. What color is he? What do you think he might tell you here? Would he say, hey, nice to see you, right? And so just do that, because the thing is, it's amazing that your daughter can see angels. That is beautiful. She's very connected, obviously still remembers. Now, I don't know whether your son is older or younger, but he has already some of the human limitations. So we want to kind of mellow it out for him. So just, even like if you say that, I like to talk to my guide, and my guide looks like this, and my guide feels like this. So just encouraging a lot of imagination, because remember, Spirit said that there's actually no line, but there is for humans, but there's no line between imagination and experiencing your guides. It's one and the same. They're coming in through this filter that we call human mind, and they're showing you pictures of them. So the more your son is 9, you don't, oh yeah, so he's a teeny tiny bit older. So just encouraging them. Now, another amazing thing is, I've done this for my daughter. She was a bit anxious about going to secondary school, to high school, and we got her a crystal that has actually a thumb molded in, so you can hold it and like sort of rub it. But the crystal was a representation of, you're protected, you're fine, you're strong, you're safe, and your guides are with you. So whenever you need a little bit of their love and you need something, like you need to feel it, just hold on to this rock and you will connect with them. So just making it more tangible for them. But I would just play on the imagination and just kind of go like, well, what would you like them to look at? How many do you think you have? Because there's kids have an amazing imagination. Kids actually, I hope still at this age, they don't go like, oh, but if I'm imagining it, then it's not real, right? Because often I find my students do that. But the thing is, guides actually are energy, right? A being. They don't often show it themselves in human form. They do it for us. And I usually say, when someone is very left brain and they need to know what their guide looks like, or they need to know what their guide is called, I say, you know what? If you don't get a name, if you don't see what they look like, just make it up. Just say, okay, I know I've got this guide here. I'm going to call him Joe. That's it. He doesn't care. The guide doesn't care. The guide is interested in having a connection with you. And if that helps you, that's fine. So I hope this helps, Michelle. Well, it's beautiful that you want to encourage that. And I know that he will. Oh, thank you, Michelle. It's just, I love playing with them. It's like when my daughter, for example, says that she can understand what our puppy is saying. We're like, yeah, tell us, right? Like we don't say, oh, that's rubbish, So the more you are, which I feel like you would be encouraging and opening that conversation and encouraging them to use their imagination, it will be part of them. I know that your son, very much like your daughter, has the abilities, has this gift, and he's still connected. It's just that he is now coming to that age where he's working out the limits, and like what is possible, what is not. It's very much like cover your ears if you have little ones, or cover their ears. Santa, the same as with Santa Claus, right? There comes an age where they start to ask questions, and they question, is he real? Is he not real? So the same is happening for this, but I think it's a beautiful thing to encourage it in children. All right, if we don't have any more questions, I feel like I have enjoyed this so much, hanging out with everyone here, with you beautiful souls. And I know that the replay, because this is an awkward time, the replay will be just as potent. And if you're listening to this on my podcast, then and have any questions, reach out and let me know. Thank you to both of you beautiful souls who are here with me. And thank you to everyone who asked the questions. Have an amazing day. Bye.